case you're a movie buff, the film people have done it again, a movie on dinosaurs, Jurassic World or whatever, $500 million on a weekend.
Wow. Did you see it?
No, I didn't see it. I don't care anything about dinosaurs.
Just thought I'd ask.
Tyrannosaurus Rex is eating up lawyers and stuff. Everybody cheered when
Hold on, now wait, there could be some merit to that.
Everybody cheered when the dinosaur ate the lawyer. I don't know what's going to happen to this one. I see this movie. Another Steven Spielberg blockbuster, though. Anyhow, well, remember when the Democrats said they'd have to pass it before they could find out what was in it? That was Nancy Pelosi's famous word. Well, maybe they should have read it first themselves, because now the Supreme Court is set to rule on a big flaw in the way Obamacare was written.
The ruling could come any day now, and it's a decision that may undermine the very foundation of the president's health care law. Paul Strand explains.
This case, King versus Burwell, is about a problem in the language of the Obamacare law. The people could get subsidies when they signed up with health exchanges established at the state level, or as the law says it, established by the state. But most states didn't create exchanges like Democrats thought they would. They didn't want to. Healthcare analyst Nina Alcharenko.
They were looking to see a way of kind of keeping more of Obamacare out of their state.
So millions of Americans signed up on the federal exchange instead, and the IRS decided millions of them could get subsidies. So the court's deciding if the word federal can be used interchangeably with the word state.
And whether or not those subsidies can be given in states that have a federal marketplace versus a state marketplace.
Republican Senator Ron Johnson warns if the court says no,
millions of Americans that are getting their Obamacare plans through a federal exchange will no longer be eligible for the subsidies. And that's going to create a lot of chaos, a lot of turmoil in people's lives.
If the court rules against Obamacare, then Congress, now controlled by Republicans, has to fix the language of the law to save those subsidies. It could just add a phrase and make it established by the state or federal government. But a ruling against Obamacare also gives these Republicans a chance to instead really tinker with or even replace a massive federal program many loathe.
Obamacare is just flat busted.
Representative Paul Ryan, for instance.
We're not talking about a ding or a dent or a fender bender or a flat tire. The whole law is a lemon.
The president suggests his urge to trash or tinker with Obamacare is the same as plotting to steal away health care or subsidies.
It seems so cynical to want to take coverage away from millions of people, to take care away from the people who need it the most.
But Republican Johnson's plan would let everyone keep the plans they now have and preserve most of the status quo until August 2017.
What that allows the American people to be involved in deciding the direction of a health care system in the 2016 election.
Republicans grouse that's too easy on Obamacare. The administration's upset Johnson's plan would kill the individual mandate, that penalty that forces almost all Americans to pay into the system even if they don't have health care coverage. Johnson laughs off the critics.
It's being attacked from both the right and the left, which I think pretty well proves that I think I found that sweet spot of a very reasonable, very fair proposal.
This Supreme Court case has been just one more bad news or bad publicity moment for Obamacare.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
You like your current insurance, you keep that insurance. Period. End of story.
PolitiFact called that the lie of the year. And the assurance health care costs might be cut in half? Not so, they're going up.
We know why there's still more people opposed to the health care law than support it. It's because their prices are going up on their health care.
Obamacare has dramatically driven up the cost of health care. It did not protect patients. It didn't control the cost of health care either.
And now a court ruling that could throw the very shape, even existence of Obamacare back into open battle here in Washington. Paul Strand, CBN News, Capitol Hill.
Well, Jonathan Gruber, the academic cynic who was laughing about how he pulled the wool over people's eyes, clearly said that that state exception was in there, that he put it in, he knew what it was said, and I don't know if the Supreme Court can take into account the statements of a bill's architect, but they certainly ought to listen to him, because he laughed about the fact this was the out they had in the bill. And so the justices need to to rule on that bill as it's written. They're not supposed to rewrite the law to make them politically acceptable or constitutionally acceptable. They have to say, this is not right. We'll send it back to Congress to fix it. And hopefully the Republicans have some fixes involved. But for those who do not get subsidy because of their income, the cost of health care is going up dramatically. This thing is a monstrosity, and it is placing the burden, one, on the taxpayer, and two, on those who have enough money to afford their own health care. And it's a mess. Well, another candidate has leapt into the pond. The candidate pool gets bigger and bigger, and the political world is buzzing about the big announcement. A candidate who's calling himself like Cher or some other name like Bono. He's calling himself Jeb. Maybe,
and we all know who it is.
Maybe he's going to play the guitar. Yeah. You reckon? Does he sing? All right. Anyhow, he's jumping in. Ephraim Graham has that story.
Pat, it has been coming for months. Finally, Jeb Bush declaring today his candidacy for president. The former Florida governor previewed his big announcement this weekend, releasing his new logo, which just says, as you mentioned, Jeb. His last name will be an issue in his campaign since it's unclear if Americans will want another Bush in the White House. But Jeb Bush says he's got his own record to run on, especially when it comes to conservative values. Telling CBN News he's proven he's pro-life.
When I was governor, we created the first pro-life license plate to be able to provide counseling for people. We had the first, I believe, in the country, $2 million appropriation for crisis pregnancy centers. We regulated abortion clinics. We created a constitutional amendment to require parental notification for abortions. The Terry Schiavo case came during my time. So I have a pretty proven record of respecting life from the beginning to the end.
And Pat, as you know, Bush joins a very crowded Republican field with 11 candidates already in the race.
Well, the Republicans have an abundance of talent, I must say. That an embarrassment of riches, maybe. They've got some of the best candidates they've ever had. I mean, distinguished governors from New Jersey, and governors of Wisconsin, and governors from Ohio, and governors from Texas, and it's just. And now I think the governor of New York wants to get in, the former governor. These are, but Jeb Bush has raised some money. He stumbled along the way. He got a little confused during these opening days, and I think he's hurt himself right much when he went for that Common Core education and some of the other things. But he was a very conservative governor, and I think he'll have the money to get his message out, and that's going to be the big thing. Do they have the staying power to carry him across the finish line? Some will, and some won't. Ephraim.
Pat, the U.S. military has launched airstrikes targeting a top al-Qaeda leader in eastern Libya. Mokhtar Belmokhtar is charged with leading the deadly attack on a gas plant in Algeria that killed 35 hostages back in 2013, including 3 Americans. The Pentagon says its airstrikes likely killed the al-Qaeda leader, and the Libyan government agrees. But an Islamist in Libya says the strike missed Belmokhtar, killing members of a group that was behind the Benghazi consulate attack instead. The head of one of the most militant Islamic states in the world has now escaped arrest in South Africa. Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir is wanted by the International Criminal Court. But despite a South African court order to hold Bashir for trial, the tyrannical leader has escaped. Our Gary Lane has more.
Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir was indicted in 2009 for committing crimes against humanity and genocide in Darfur. The International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant against him. But so far, the Sudanese president has remained elusive and careful about traveling outside of Sudan. This weekend, he was in South Africa, attending an African Union summit. Before arriving in the country, he received assurances from the South African government that he wouldn't face arrest. But a South African judge on Sunday ordered that Bashir not be allowed to leave the country. That brought outrage from the Sudanese government.
This court's decision does not have legal value. South Africa issued in the Public Gazette 10 days ago the decision of the African Union that African countries are not bound to any decision by the court.
UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon said the authority of the ICC must be respected and Bashir arrested. Despite pressure from the UN General Secretary, the South African government ignored its own court's ruling and allowed Bashir to leave. Nonetheless, the Sudanese president is still a wanted man for killing 300,000 of his fellow countrymen and displacing another 2 million. Gary Lane, CBN News.
And of course, Pat, many scratching their heads wondering how they could let him get away.
Well, it's just politics over there. It's just somebody should take him out. I don't know what's going to be done. They want to keep trying these people. He's an absolute monster. He's a tyrannical dictator and a fanatic Muslim, and he has ruthlessly butchered his own people.